Hi, this is Matthew Warner, and this is a walkthrough of Tombs and Mummies. I'm going to show you everything, so I hope you've first given this the college try before watching the video. Anyway, when you first arrive in the tomb of King Haputet, you'll see there's not really a lot you can do. Your torch is out. If you try to go up, the hissing snakes will come out of the walls and start attacking you. So you can only frighten them away with your torch. So we're going to ignite the torch. You have a few clues right away about what you got to do. There's a torch that has an old dry wick, which is represented by this. The wick is going to go down with every turn you take. When it gets to the bottom, the torch will go out, and then you'll have to relight it with one of your remaining matches up there. In the meantime, try not to die. My health is now currently at 94% because the snakes bit me a couple times. We also have a help file in the form of a notebook, and you can just read it or type help. And here in the help file, a couple of important clues. One is to read all the scenery descriptions carefully. So for instance, notebook is linked, but some other things that are in the scenery descriptions are not linked. Things like murals, and you'll have to look at them. The other thing is that only certain things can be seen by indirect lighting, meaning that you leave your torch in one room like this. It's currently dropped in a wall sconce, and then explore the adjacent rooms like that. There's not much to see. The way back to your torch is lit up, but you might find a clue if, for instance, you go south. We can see the snake statue, which we're going to have to deal with later. The other two clues that there are really to find are the entrances to the burial chamber up there, and I'll go over that in a second. But first I'm going to take my torch and I'm going to give you a tour of all the rooms. So we'll open them up on the map up there. Here in the southwest corner is the ladder that you're going to need to get out. Right now it's too heavy to pick up, so we got to find some way to magically lighten the ladder. And then I go this way. So now I've been through all of the rooms. You see my torch tick has been reducing as I've done that. And obviously there's a hole up here. There's something we're missing. Maybe it's the burial chamber. So to be sure about that, I can drop my torch, and then I can explore that adjacent room, and I can see, aha, a door is revealed. That's the door that goes north, but I can't go through it at the moment. My torch wick, by the way, is getting ready to go out, so I can drop the torch and then ignite it. I can't ignite it when I'm holding it, so it's already dropped. So I'm just going to ignite it, and that uses up one of my matches. If I take the torch and go west, of course, that north door is not visible. There's another door to the north of where I am right now, which goes to the west into the burial chamber. So that's all the indirect stuff to see with the torch. So what I want to do now is figure out some way to get through those doors. I know there's a door right here to the west, but I can't get through it. So I need a magic spell to get me through that door. And you find that magic spell down here in the Shrine of Thoth, is the god of magic. And here in the Ark of Magic are two items. There's a papyrus and a cloak of protection. Here on the papyrus is the spell that we need. It says Open Sesame. We also have here a cloak of protection that would be useful, so I'm going to take that and put it on. And now the next time snakes come out of the walls, when my torch goes out, I'll be protected. So even if I say wait, watch, the torch goes out, the snakes come in, and they're going to start attacking me, but the cloak of protection wards them away. So that's a convenient thing to have. I'm going to drop the torch, ignite it, take it, and I'm off again. Now let's go try to get into that burial chamber. Come up here. I know I have a door there to the north, but I can't get to it. Now I'm going to say open sesame. Now the hidden door is revealed, and I can go north. The mummy is in the sarcophagus. There's several things here to distract you. You don't need any of these things. What's important is I need to be able to get the ladder to the entryway, and I got to do it while protecting myself from the mummy. So what I need is a magic spell in order to make this thing light enough to take. And the location of the magic spell is in, again, one of these unlinked clues that the help file told you about. In this case, it's the hieroglyphs engraved on the wall. So if I say look hieroglyphs, I learned that, oh, I really need to translate the hieroglyphs. And there it gives me my magic spell. So, but if I say it right now, it's going to, my clue, it'll lighten the heavy, meaning it'll make my ladder light, but it'll also enliven the dead. It'll also bring the mummy to life. So I go like this, and this red line's come on, the spell's on. Oh, here comes the mummy, and he's hurting me. And the only way to make him stop is by doing that again. So I have a dilemma. How am I going to be able to do this? Oh, a magical aura surrounds the ladder. I can pick up the ladder. Can I pick up the ladder? But the mummy's still going to hurt me. That's no good at all. So, what we need to do is to imprison the mummy. And we're going to imprison the mummy in his sarcophagus. So the mummy right now is an object. I need to get him back to his sarcophagus. So I'm just going to pick him up. He's like a garbage bag of dry leaves. I'm taking him back to the sarcophagus. And I'm going to say put mummy in sarcophagus. So he's in there. Now I'm going to close the lid on him. But if I say a pum, he's just going to get back out again. So what do? I need to lock the door, the sarcophagus. So let's look at the sarcophagus again. And it says, oh, the lid has latch holes through which you could thread a lock. So I need something to function as my lock. Well, at this point you might go around the tomb and start grabbing shepherd's crook, and you might try inserting the torch. Lock sarcophagus with torch. And it says, it doesn't fit, but you have the right idea. So I just need to have the correct object. And the correct object, as it turns out, is the flail of Anubis over here. That's the only thing it's really good for. I'm going to take the flail, and I'm going to go back to the burial chamber. And I'm going to say, and there's lots of things you can say, lock sarcophagus with flail. And I have a lot of different verb patterns that'll pick it up. You could just select the flail from your inventory and say use within this room, and it'll do the same thing. You thread the flail handle through the latch holes, locking the sarcophagus closed. So at this point now, when I activate my magic spell, the mummy is locked in, as you can see. His beating on the lid. Now I'm going to go south again. My torch is getting ready to go out. Now it's relit. I'm going to go down here. I'm going to get the ladder. It's light enough now to transport. Safe from the mummy. Now I'm going to prop the ladder, or lean the ladder. I could do either one. There we go. It's been leaned for the escape catch, and I could type up or climb. And I'm out. And that there is how to solve the puzzle. Now what we're going to do is restart the game. And I'm going to show you some of the hazards to avoid. So this is part 2 of the video. What is there to avoid? Well, the first hazard is one of temptation. All this cool stuff in the treasure room. You can open up the treasure chest, you can open up the jar, and there is just a ton of stuff that you would expect in a treasure room. And all of it's completely useless to you. If you take any of this treasure, if you have more than one item in your inventory, and you are at the end of the game and you've leaned the ladder and you're climbing up, you won't be able to climb the ladder. You'll be too heavy. You can climb the ladder with one item in your inventory, and that's it. The next thing that is around to mess you up, you may have paid a lot of attention to these canopic jars, and inside of them are mummified intestines and mummified stomach and so on. You can take the intestines, the stomach, and the other things and put them into the mummy. You can either, and if you do that, then the only thing you're going to accomplish is to supercharge the mummy. So the next time you say a pum and he attacks you, he will do twice the damage. Your clue that he's supercharged is once you put in all the put in all the contents into him, his eyes start glowing red. So you don't need to do that. That's just a trap designed to mess you up. The next trap designed to mess you up, and this is a bad one, is this thing with the very tempting name called the Amulet of Omnipotence. But if you take it, it will change its name to the Amulet of Disorientation, and you will be unable to drop it because you have a magic curse that's getting in the way. Well, why is it called the Amulet of Disorientation? And the answer, of course, is that there's a chance that as you walk around, it may disorient you. So in this case, I wanted to go east, but the amulet sent me to the north. And this time I go east again. Oh no, it's going to go to the south, and so on. And it may or may not happen. It's just going to randomly send you through an exit. So, like I said, you can't drop it because you're cursed. Here I am back at the altar of Ra. The way to drop it is to touch the altar. Now a great curse has been lifted from me, and I can drop it. Now you may have seen this message before and just assumed that the amulet was no longer doing anything to you, but it still is. It's still the Amulet of Disorientation. All you've accomplished by touching the altar, touching the seal, is that now you can drop it. So I am going to drop it. And it says, oh, it's great. Now it's renamed itself back to the Amulet of Omnipotence. And, you won't get fooled again, will you? Well, you might. My kids were. So, now the last couple of things to avoid. Let's talk about something easy. You may not want to avoid this, is the statue of Harpocrates. And you learned by looking at this that, I really do need a hint, but it is going to claim a portion of your life force. Well, I got 80% life force up here, so why don't we just go ahead and touch him. And he hurts me, took me down to 45%, but he did tell me not all locks look like locks. And that's concerning the flail of Anubis, and that I knew I needed a lock in order to lock the mummy in the sarcophagus earlier. The flail doesn't look like a lock, but it is the lock that you need. And so there are several clues that he will give you while you are in this guise. But while you are in a different guise, he will give you a different hint. And what do I mean by that? Well, it's the last major hazard that you have here, which is this thing that is invisible in this room that you can only see through indirect lighting. And my torch is getting ready to go out, so this is a good time for me to drop it and ignite it. Now I'm just going to leave it there on the wall sconce, and I'm going to go back south again, and then we will see the snake statue. The snake statue, again, is one of these things that is just there to mess you up. It has a very tempting description, but if you do touch it, you are going to switch bodies with the mummy. Now I am in the body of the mummy inside the sarcophagus, and the real me, or the real you, if you're playing this game, is now basically a zombie, just mindlessly roaming around the tomb. And we will see him. I'm going to get out and walk around. Now I'm the mummy. I don't need a torch to see anything, but there's nothing I can do. I can't go here and say up home to lift up the ladder. Mummies aren't allowed to do magic. And you say, oh no, I'm screwed, as I'm stuck. You see here, there's the real you. You can look at him, and he stands there, and he exits, he goes north. And if I stay here long enough, you'll see messages like these as he just comes back into the room and moans and leaves the room again randomly. And really, there's nothing you can do with him right now. Your sole objective is to switch bodies back. And there's only one way to do that, because obviously you're cursed. And you should know by now that the only way to lift a curse is by touching the altar of Ra. So I'm going to touch it, and we're going to switch bodies back wherever my other body happens to be. Oh, here he is. He's in this room. Let's wait a minute and see if he walks back out. Okay, so he's gone to the burial chamber. Now I'm going to touch it. Boom, boom. There we are. Now I'm in the burial chamber, back in my own body. The mummy is there, but my torch is out. The snakes are attacking me. Right away I have a problem. So I'm going to relight my torch. And then if I go back south again, where I know that the mummy is, you can see he's still in this room, but now he's just inanimate, and the game is back how it was before. So that's everything. I hope you enjoyed this video and that you enjoyed the game. Please drop me an email at matthewwarner.com. Let me know what your experience was. And thanks very much for playing.